Brands on Brands.
Hey, what's up? It's Brandon. And have you ever been to something for the first time? Like you go to an event or something like that for the first time and you don't know anybody, no one knows who you are. I call that a lack of brand recognition, right? But I'm applying it to people here. But that's what it feels like. No one knows who you are. And it's easy to want to retreat to the corner. And today we're talking about if it is your first time, how to become memorable and be recognized so that the next time people remember who you are. Let's jump into it.
In a world where content is king and your reputation is your brand, how do you build a brand that matters? Welcome to Brands on Brands, a home for those that think different and push their boundaries. This is where branding that matters lives. Now, here is your host, Brandon Birkmeyer.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Brands on Brands. I'm Brandon Birkmeyer, your personal branding coach. And today we're talking about personal brand recognition. What does that mean? Well, it means what it sounds like, right? It means being recognized. It means people understanding who you are, what you stand for, and remembering you, being memorable. Now, when we're talking about products, brand recognition, it has more to do with that you've had an impactful design and logo and packaging, and that you've exposed that packaging and messaging enough times with enough frequency that people over time recognize you. And they understand maybe your brand attributes versus other brands, right? That they know what makes you different than the competition. It's a little different when you're talking about personal brand recognition because all of us are unique individuals. We have different personalities. We look different. All of our packaging is different. But being recognized really ties into more things like being memorable. And that's tough. How many of you, when you go to a conference, have trouble remembering people's names, right? I know I do. I'll remember faces pretty well, but I have no idea what names are a lot of the time. But what's nice is even if I don't remember someone's name, sometimes I can remember what they do, what they stand for, what they work on. And that is really more about the person has expressed their ideas well enough that I remember them. I remember what they're about, what their big thing is. And the other part of it is if I can spot you across the room, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that person. And the feeling that I had, like, oh, I like them or I didn't like them. I want to go talk to them again. I don't want to go talk to them again. I think that's a huge part of it when you're talking about a personal brand, when you're talking about real life. And so I've been thinking about this. And for me, when I go to a conference, I do a couple of things. I want to share what I do. When I go to an event, a conference, something local, it doesn't matter. A couple of things I do. One is I don't mind being a little bit bold. So when I go, I use certain things to my advantage. I use the fact that I'm tall to my advantage. I know that I stand out in terms of height. I always pretty much wear a similar kind of clothing, kind of dark colors, and a hat. And the hat on a tall guy with glasses with a big bold statement across the top of the hat that says Brands on Brands in big letters. I know when people see me, I'm recognizable out of a crowd just because of my stature and what I'm wearing. But the Brands on Brands part, it's funny. It's memorable to a lot of people because it's catchy. And a lot of people won't even remember that my name is Brandon, but they'll remember Brands on Brands. Or they'll see the hat again and they'll be like, oh yeah, Brands on Brands, right? And that I know is helpful because they'll remember I'm in the branding space, right? I'm in the personal branding space. And they'll have a reason to come chat with me and they'll say that, Brands on Brands, they'll say something funny like that. And it's an icebreaker too. So what's interesting is as I'm doing more public speaking, keynote speaking because of the book, a lot of that is for corporate environments and trainings. And in corporate, I'm trying to not be wearing the hat as much. This is a silly thing to talk about, but in corporate, obviously they would prefer a more professional look. So the suit, the tie, the jacket, or whatever it might be. And I'm not usually wearing a tie, but definitely a nice blazer, some jeans, and not the hat. And so I'm getting more keynote speaking videos that have me, you know, looking like that so that when I show up, it all matches. But when I showed up to this conference, this event recently, and I wasn't wearing my hat, the people who've met me before were like, "Oh, I almost didn't recognize you because I wasn't wearing the hat." And, or I get a double take from someone. I'm like, "Do I know you?" And then I wear the hat the second day. They're like, "There it is. So something as silly as a hat. I know everyone's got their signature thing. Some people they'll have glasses that are a certain color, like an orange color or a pink color, or they'll have their like pink high heel shoes, or they'll always have their glittery blazer or whatever the thing is. Everyone's kind of got their thing, or they have a signature mustache. Unfortunately, that's not my thing. I can't grow that mustache like other people can, but everyone's got something. And yes, I'm talking about aesthetics. It doesn't have to be that. It could be just your personality or your approach or your personality, how you tell jokes or whatever it might be. But usually there's something that can be memorable. And I'd say lean into that. Lean into those quirky, funny things and go for it. For some of you, it might just be in how you tell stories and the things that you lean on, and people will remember that. But that's what I have. So I'll have some of that with recognition, and that I can control. I can control that every time I go somewhere, I'm pretty much wearing similar clothes so that they spot me no matter where I'm at. The other thing I can do is I can throw in something creative, like a nice pair of shoes that people might want to make a comment on. And then the other thing is I can speak to them first. I can go up to people and say, "Hey, what's up? Nice to meet you." And I found that being the person who initiates contact, being the person who goes out and reaches out to people and says hello, goes a long way because they like the energy that you did the work for them. So you want to build some brand recognition, do the work for them. Be friendly, be beyond your normal self, outwardly reaching out to people and starting conversations. Here's a couple other tips. One of my friends obviously isn't as, I'd say, outgoing or extroverted as I am in some of those environments. So what they like to do is they reach out to people and they say, "Hey, who'd like to go to a lunch someday?" And they gather a group of people together and take them to a lunch. And because they are the curator of that experience, the person who's bringing those people together, they get recognition. They are the one who brought those people together. And if those people have a great experience at that lunch, they attribute that emotion, that feeling, those good relationships to that person, even if they didn't speak to that person the whole lunch. So there's ways to build some of that recognition in, and they will be remembered the next time they see those people or that they go to an event. Another way I've done this, especially in an event where I don't know anybody, is I can go into the event beforehand and see, okay, who are the speakers? And I can reach out to them. I can follow them. I can send them comments on their content. I can send them direct messages and say, "I'd love to meet you. I'd love to shake your hand." And I can post on the event website or in the event chat or community and build engagement there and share a picture of myself or a funny story or tell people I'm excited I'm going and ask who else is going. Starting to be involved and participating in the event before it even happens is a great way to build a little recognition so that when you see somebody, you have something to talk about. "Oh, hey, yeah, I remember you from the website. You posted about this," or whatever it might be. Asking people questions. What are the things you're excited about hearing when you go to this event? Building a little bit of excitement beforehand is a great way to, when you get there, having some people to talk to and having some of that recognition built in to begin with. And then lastly, another great way to do it is to be involved, right? You can either volunteer to work at the event or try to pitch yourself to speak at some of the events. If you're participating regularly in an industry or in an event, you probably have knowledge that you can share back. And some events are easier than others to pitch to, but try it. Maybe there's some knowledge you can share back to that industry that you would be selected for to speak at that event. And guess what? When you're on the stage, suddenly you've got recognition from the 10, 20, 30, 100 people in the audience all at once, really quickly. And you're being recognized not just for the cool shoes you're wearing or the color of your eyeglasses, but now because of the ideas that you're sharing and the value and impact you're providing to the people in the audience. And also, a little fun fact, your values already elevated simply because you're on that stage. So that's what I got for you guys today. figuring out ways to build some brand recognition, finding ways to show up, be recognized, be memorable anytime you go somewhere you're out in the world, in the real world. I hope you found that helpful. And again, if you want to connect with me, go to brandsonbrands.com/chat. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you next time.
You've just taken your marketing knowledge to another level with this episode of Brands on Brands. But we have plenty more ways to help you build a brand that matters. Head over to brandsonbrands.com for resources, as well as access to our blogs, videos, and exclusive coaching sessions with your host. Be sure to visit brandsonbrands.com.